Friends, in the last video we had already covered the place of supply in relation to service up to section 12. Now we are coming to section 13. And as I told you that section 12 and 13 are little lengthy, so we need to refer the law. And I'm referring Bayer Act, and by chance if you don't have the Bayer Act, you can ask me or you can download from the government site. Okay, so now this is section 13. Section 13 becomes applicable where supplier of service, you can say supplier or recipient, is outside India. At least one of the two persons is outside India, only then this section becomes applicable, otherwise will be governed by section 12. Okay, and in this section mainly two parts are there. One is subsection 2, which is general, and then we have subsection 3 to 13. These are specific things. Now general, as I told you in section 12 also, this is applicable when the situation is not covered in specific provisions. Specific will always prevail over general, right? Now subsection 2 says the place of supply except the services specified in 3 to 13 shall be location of the recipient of service. So in this general provisions, again we can divide into two parts. If address of recipient is available or it is not available. So if it is available, in that case place of supply shall be location of recipient, and if it is not available, then it becomes location of supplier, right? So friend, this will become more relevant when the services are being exported and customer is overseas. You must have the address of the person, otherwise this becomes the location and then it becomes taxable. And if this is the case, the recipient, then nothing will be taxable. Okay, because the place of supply itself will become outside India. Now for 3 to 13 also I can give you a brief chart. In subsection 3, we are concerned with performance related things. Number 4, this is related to immovable property. Number 5, this is related to events, right? And subsection 6 and 7, These relate to services covered in subsection 3, 4 and 5. In subsection 8, we have specific services, and these specific services are services of banking, non-banking financial services, intermediary services and hiring the conveyance, but except with aircraft and vessel. Subsection 9, this is the transportation of goods. This is transportation of goods. Subsection 10, this is transportation of services or transportation of passengers. Subsection 11, this is on-board services. Subsection 12, these are OIDAR services. And subsection 13, this is something very specific, under which the government is having a right to prescribe the place of enjoyment as the place of supply. So friends, this is a brief chart of entire section 13, right? So whatever we have written here, that itself is subsection 1. So this you can say this is subsection 1. Subsection 2 is talking about generally what shall be the place of supply, and general will be applicable if a situation is not covered in specific situations given under subsection 3 to subsection 13. Generally the place of supply, if the address of the recipient is available, then the location of recipient is the place of supply, and if it is not available, then location of the supplier will become the place of supply. Then we have subsection 3 to 13. I have intentionally divided that in two parts because subsection 6 and 7, these are specifically related to this. Otherwise, there is no reason for making the bifurcation. Only reason is because 3, 4, 5 and then 6 and 7, these 6 and 7 are connected to services covered under section 3, 4, 5. These do not apply here, right? And then here every subsection is independent. So that since these are, it becomes a group, subsection 3, 4 and 5. And then 6 and 7, and here we have subsection 8, 9, 10. So these are performance related services, these are immovable property, and this is event. And here we have specific situations which are, as I told you, these are banking services, intermediary services, as well as hiring of the conveyance. This is transportation of goods, this is transportation of passengers, this is on-board services, these are OIDAR services, and then we have the government is having the right to prescribe the services where the place of enjoyment will be the place of provision, place of supply of service. So we'll start from subsection 3 because general is only this much. Okay, now we are coming to subsection 3. In subsection 3, this is a case where certain goods are required to be made available to the supplier of services for providing the service. And who makes the goods available? It is the recipient who makes the goods available. And another situation covered here is where the personal presence of a person is required for availing the service. So two things are covered in subsection 3. Now you can read this. Clause A says services supplied in respect of goods which are required to be made physically available by the recipient of service to the supplier. And in that clause B, you can say services supplied to the individual represented either as the recipient of service or a person acting on his behalf, which requires physical presence of recipient or the person acting on his behalf. So in subsection 3, we have two situations covered. If recipient is required to make the goods available to supplier of service for providing service. Say for example, a new motor car is made and this is required to be tested for endurance outside India. So unless that motor car is sent outside India, this cannot be tested, right? Because endurance test will be done at the testing facility which is outside India. It may happen otherwise. Some motor vehicle manufactured outside India is proposed to be launched in India, but before that, before launching in India, they want a test to be done in India. So that the person is outside India, but he wants the test to be carried out in India, that is the road test, so goods are required to be made available in India. Right. So goods are required to be made available. Similarly, in case of construction, always the material is to be made available by the receiver of the service and the person who is carrying out the actual work, the pure labor work. So that is one example where the goods are required to be made available to the supplier by the recipient, right? So in this case, location where goods are made available, this will be the place of supply, right? But if you see something more therein, that says doesn't apply if goods are brought to India. Goods are brought to India only for repairs and not for use, right? So this is important. So I give you example of endurance test of the vehicle. In that case, this is not applicable. This is only for the purpose of repairs, right? And if it is for the repair, then those goods are not going to be used in India. So this doesn't apply. Doesn't apply means this doesn't apply. And in section 2 we said that if the situation is not covered in subsection 3 to 13, then it will be decided as per subsection 2. So this says if the goods are brought to India for the purpose of repairs, it will be governed by general provisions, not by this, right? So we can write here that in this case, place of supply as per subsection 2. So when the goods are brought to India only for the purpose of repairs and maintenance and not for being used in India, so that situation is not covered in subsection 3 because that has been excluded, right? So when it has been excluded, it means it will be governed by general provisions of subsection 2. Now another portion, another part is services to individual and those services require his personal presence, require personal presence. Now who wants to avail the service, it will depend on that. So that may be healthcare, that may be beauty treatment, that may be fitness, that may be personal development, whatsoever be the services. So unless person is present, he cannot avail the service. So all the services which are given to individual, in this case whosoever it may be, but here it is important, services given to an individual, right? So wherever his presence is required, so this is place where presence is required for availing the service. Got it? So friend, this is subsection 3, right? Now, by chance, if the services are given through internet, then wherever goods are, that will be the place of supply of service. So, softwares can be repaired online. Goods can be controlled online. So, a software engineer sitting in India can provide a service of handling software in another country, and that can be done online. In that case, what is being repaired or what is being amended, what is being modified, what is being updated, it is a software, and software is in the computer of a computer, and that computer is in another country, but everything is online. So in that case, the software which is required to be updated, that is available in the machine which is outside India. So the place of supply will become outside India, and again that will not be taxable. So this is subsection 3. Now moving to subsection 4, which is about immovable property. This is related to immovable property. Now this immovable property services covers architect, engineer, construction coordination, etc. It also covers real estate agents. This also covers renting or leasing of immovable property. This also covers hotel, club, guest house, inn, etc. So any place where the place of stay is given. So that's why I have added etc. In this line also I have added etc. because that is not the end of the list of the service providers in relation to immovable property. In all these cases, the place of supply is the location of immovable property. So immovable property, either it is or intended to be. So suppose we hire the architectural services from some engineer who is outside India, and the property is going to be in Mumbai. Then the place of supply will become Mumbai, right? It may happen other way around. One engineer or architect sitting in Mumbai giving services of architectural services to a customer outside India, and the property is going to be situated outside India, then outside India will become the place of supply. So friend, this is subsection 4, right? Then we come to subsection 5. Subsection 5, this is relating to events. And in the event, the mainly things covered are organizing, then ancillary services, as well as entry into the events. All are clubbed together. Services of organizing the event, or services ancillary to organizing the event, or entry. And these events are maybe cultural or artistic or scientific or educational or entertainment or social. These may be fair or exhibition. Whatever type of events are, irrespective of that, and the service is either organizing or the services in relation to organizing or entry in these events, right? In both the places you would add etc., because this is not the end of the list, right? So in all these cases, place of supply shall be the place where event is. So either event is there or event is proposed to be there, right? So in relation to events, services of organizing, entry and ancillary services, the events will be cultural, artistic, scientific, educational, entertainment, social, fair, exhibition, trade fairs, etc. The place of supply shall be the place where the event is, right? So if the event is outside India, then all possibilities the place of supply is outside India, right? But you have to understand the title again. Either supplier or recipient is outside India. So by chance, if there is a person who is organizing an event and the event is outside India, the organizer is in Mumbai, the participant is also in Mumbai, it will become taxable, it will be governed by section 12, right? Because section 13 says either party, at least one party, so either supplier or recipient is outside India. So whenever you have a situation, just think first of all under which section it is, under section 12 or section 13. If at least one person is outside India, clearly section 13. If both happen to be in India, it is section 12, right? And then only you go into the details, otherwise there will be confusion. Now subsection 6 says that if any of the services covered in subsection 3 or 4 or 5, so 3 is performance based, 4 is immovable property, 5 is events, right? If these are in multiple locations, services under subsection 3 or 4 or 5 at multiple locations, including taxable territory, then the place of supply shall be taxable territory. So services which are under subsection 3 and 4 and 5, that is immovable property, then performance as well as events, if these are in multiple locations, so multiple locations means in the taxable territory as well as outside the taxable territory, then the place of supply shall be in the taxable territory. Subsection 7 says services under subsection 3, 4 and 5 in multiple states or union territories, then first of all the tax is payable in proportion of the services in every state, right? And accordingly the place of provision of service will be decided, right? So this says place of supply shall be for the services in the state or union territory, and this will be in proportion of value, in proportion of value, right? So this is the situation where it is taxable and non-taxable territory is covered. This subsection 7 is it is only taxable territory but multiple states. So this says if the taxable and non-taxable territory both are covered, then the place of supply shall be in the taxable territory. And this says if the multiple states and union territories are covered, in that situation the place of supply will be every state and every union territory, and the amount will be determined in proportion of the value of the services given in one state. So these are subsection 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Subsection 3 is in relation to goods in relation to performance. So in performance we covered two situations. Number one, where the goods are required to be made available by the recipient to the supplier of services, and another situation where personal presence of the individual is required. Subsection 4 talks about the immovable property. So immovable property we covered multiple things. So that includes architect, interior decorator, engineer, labor, as well as hotel, guest house, stay, rental, lease, everything is covered in that, including real estate agent. So where the real estate is, or it is in B. Subsection 5, that is event, so that is already written herein. So these are subsection 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this is one part. Now we move to subsection 8, and subsection 8 is something specific. This says place of supply is location of supplier. So this is something very, very specific, that only the location of supplier is the place of supply. In this we have services by banks, NBFCs and financial institutions to account holders. Underline the word to the account holders, right? So if the branch happens to be in India, bank branch happens to be in India, and NRI is holding an account therein, so his address is certainly outside India. So when recipient is outside India, that cannot be governed by subsection 2. So this is a specific. So here it is clearly given, the place of supply is the location of the supplier, means the where the bank branch is, that will be the place of supply. Number 2, intermediary services. So these are broking services in relation to anything. Number 3, this is hiring of conveyance. Hiring of conveyance, including yacht, but excluding vessel and aircraft, and this is up to 1 month period. So these 3 services are specifically mentioned, and for that we are talking about the place of supply shall be the place of supplier only, provided, again I am highlighting, either supplier or recipient is outside India. So in this case, services by banks, NBFCs, financial institutions to the account holder. Number 2, intermediary services. Number 3, hiring of conveyance. Okay, so this is subsection 8. Now moving to subsection 9. First we will talk about the transportation of goods, and then we will talk about transportation of passengers. So here I can cover both together. Transportation, here we can have goods, which is subsection 9, and here we have passengers, which is subsection 10. Right? So but this is other than courier and mail. So in case of goods other than courier and mail, place of supply is destination. So goods coming to India, this becomes the place of supply. Goods going to a place outside India, then outside India becomes the place of supply. And in case of passenger, place of supply shall be the place wherefrom he is embarking. Right? So transportation of goods is subsection 9, transportation of passengers is subsection 10. This says transportation of goods but other than courier and mail shall be the destination shall be the place of supply. In case of passenger, the passenger wherever from he is embarking, that is the place of supply. Now here itself the passenger can be availing some services on board. So here we will have subsection 11 and this talks about services on board. Services on board. Because services can be availed by the passengers, not by the goods. So that's why I am relating that to this. So in this case, whatever services are provided on board, so on board services may be by way of, on case of motor vehicle, maybe by way of aircraft or by vessel or through train, whatever services. General example is always catering. So in this case, the place of supply shall be first scheduled departure of the conveyance. Right? So it is moving on a fixed route. So whatever is the first scheduled departure, that is going to be the place of supply of the services on board. Right? Now here from, I hope this you have already taken a note. And let me see if I'm missing anything. Subsection 12 by chance I was missing. So these are OIDAR services. So in case of OIDAR services, this may be important for you to understand. Right? So subsection 12. So this you can remove and now you can have subsection 12 OIDAR services. So this is talking about that the place of supply of OIDAR services shall be the location of recipient. Location of recipient. Now, how do we decide which is the place of recipient? So, explanation says for the purpose of this subsection, the person receiving the services shall be deemed to be located in the taxable territory. So, somebody using the OIDR services in India does not make it necessary that the services are received in India. There are conditions, and out of the conditions, any two conditions are required to be satisfied to make it sure that the place of recipient is in India. So either location of the address presented, that is in the taxable territory, or the credit card or debit card or the store card value or charge card or smart card other recipient settles payment has been issued in the taxable territory, or the billing address is in the taxable territory, or it is the internet protocol address is in territory, or the bank of recipient in which account is used, that is in the taxable territory, or the country code of the subscriber happens to be in the taxable territory. So any of the two conditions satisfied. So OIDAR services, when we can say these are received in India, either the address given by the recipient is in India, or his IP address is in India, or the credit card, debit card he is using, that is in India, or the billing address is in India. Some of the, or rather any of these two should be in India to be considered as if services of OIDR services are received in India. Right. So OIDAR services, online information data access retrieval services. In this case, place of supply is location of recipient. Location of recipient. Right. Location of recipient is in taxable territory if any two are satisfied. Number one, address. This is billing address. It is in taxable territory. Or credit card or debit card used that is issued in taxable territory, or bank account which is used for payment that is in the taxable territory, or IP address used that is in taxable territory. At least two must be satisfied to be considered that the services are received in the taxable territory, right? So this is subsection 12. Subsection 13 says for specific services government may prescribe that only the place of actual enjoyment will be the place of supply. So that is subjective. So effectively what you have to understand, section 3 to section, or rather subsection 3 to subsection 12, right? So once again, subsection 2 is general, subsection 3 presence. So presence of goods or person. Subsection 4, this is immovable property. Subsection 5 is events. Subsection 6 is taxable and non-taxable territory, and this is in relation to 3, 4 and 5. Subsection 7, this is multiple estates or union territories, and these are also services relating to subsection 3, 4, 5. Then we have 8, these are specific, and here you can say banking, then NBFC and financial institution, intermediary and conveyance. Number 9, transportation of goods. Number 10, transportation of passengers. Number 11, this is on board. Number 12, these are OIDAR services. And number 13, place of supply is place of enjoyment of service. So friend, this is the entire summary. Earlier in the beginning I gave you the chart of section 13, and now this is again something. So that brings us to the topic of place of supply. See you with the next topic.